Top five, top five, top five.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the countdown. As you can see, we got a special guest in the house. We got Chris Taylor, former NFL player, Texas A&M star. Welcome to the show, man. Really glad to have you on.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me here.
Yes, sir. Great to have you, Chris.
Obviously, you've been a football player for the majority of your life, but now you got a lot of other things going on. What else you got going on these days, man?
It seems like too much, not only, I work as a corporate recruiter, I guess in the corporate world, but I think my passion and thing really lies with helping and developing and getting athletes the opportunity to be able to play at the college level, if that's what their dream and that's what they want to do. So started Taylor Sports Performance, roughly about 5-6 years ago. We've had a lot of great athletes that have come through, and not everybody's going to play at the Division I level, but just having the opportunity to go and play and getting to showcase your talents and get to do what you love to do. I think that's the most important thing. So excited about where we are right now and what we're being able to do with our athletes.
I love it, man.
That's big time. I know exactly with the way that the transfer portal's going, it's kind of put a twist on things with recruiting. So with agencies like what you're doing is big time for these high schoolers and getting those early offers.
Yeah, and I think we focus more on, being able to play at the level that you're able to play. We're not going to sit here and say every athlete's a Division I athlete, but I think if you're working and you're building and you're learning the game the right way, we try to teach it the right way. We're not going to go out here and do a ton of footwork and do things like that. We're trying to teach it from, a football standpoint, the X's and O's, understanding coverage, understanding what you're supposed to do. And I think, even more so, they're getting a ton out of it from the learning standpoint. But man, I deal with great individuals, great kids as well.
That's awesome. It's always great learning from somebody that's been where you're trying to get. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I love it. Obviously, a lot of people will remember you for your playing days and, having the longest reception in Texas A&M history and all these things, but it's really cool how now you're trying to cement your legacy in a different way. And we over here at the Countdown, we're trying to cement our legacy as the #1 sports ranking show. So let's get into what our topic is today. We got the top 5 NFL rookies of the 2023 season. A lot of players to choose from, Brandon.
Yeah, this was an amazing 2023-2024 rookie class. We've seen players dominate on both sides of the ball. We got corners, we got D linemen, we got edge rushers. They've all had a massive impact on team success this season.
No doubt. So let's get right into the countdown. Starting us off with number 5, we got the defensive rookie of the year favorite with Jalen Carter for the Philadelphia Eagles. This guy dominated on Georgia's defense 2 years in a row, helping lead that defense to being the #1 defense in the nation, helping win championships, and took that success right into the NFL, dominating right out of the gate for Philly, having not only one of the best rookie seasons, but one of the best defensive player seasons in general the first few weeks of the season. Obviously, in the second half, they kind of tailored off. The defense tailored off. The whole team kind of starting to fall apart. But Jalen Carter has been the limelight. He's been one of the shining pieces that's always been making plays in the backfield, making those tackles for loss, just having an impact all around for that defense, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Carter was the favorite for Defensive Rookie of the Year majority of the 2023-2024 NFL season, and that was due to his dominant play as both a pass rusher and a run stopper in the middle of one of the best defenses in the league, well, at least for a majority of the season. They, like you said, they tailed off at the end. But his ability to wreck game in the trenches has made him one of the most feared defensive linemen already in the NFL. So to this day, I still don't understand how he lasted to the 9th pick. And it's just sad that the NFL allowed him to go to one of the best teams in the league, like the Philadelphia Eagles. But he's been a massive reason why this team has been able to dig through some of the adversity that they faced this year.
As you look at him, man, you look at his dominance, coming from Georgia, comes from a big time program, one of those blue bloods, had a ton of great production there. But I mean, when you look at a guy and 6'3", 315 pounds that can move the way he does, that at the point of contact he's able to use his hands to get off blocks, to be disruptive in the backfield. I think what he did to really start the season, I think that really set him on that trajectory to be successful. So man, Jalen Carter, he's a force to be reckoned with, and then he has his buddy Jordan Davis next to him. So, you got to pick your poison, and, Fletcher Cox is nobody to sneeze at either. Now, down the stretch, I think they've lost a little bit of their identity, their ability to be able to stop teams, to be able to score points. But when you look at what Jalen Carter's done, I mean, he, 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, being disruptive. really reestablishing that line of scrimmage. I think Jalen Carter's done a great job as one of those rookies that has played a lot of football in his day, and it shows with the experience that he shows on the field for the Eagles right now.
For sure. Jalen Carter being one of the most high-profile players we have on this list. But at number 4, we got a player who's gone a little under the radar and cornerback Tyrique Stevenson for the Chicago Bears. Chris, this is someone who you've really been high on. You've seen some things on tape that you really like.
Yeah, I mean, you look in, and when you hear the names, you think of Witherspoon, you think of Porter Jr., and those guys have had great seasons. Witherspoon making the Pro Bowl, but you also have to look at these guys have played a lot more primetime games. They've been on TV. We're a little bit more familiar with them. But when you look at Tyrique Stevenson, 86 tackles, 16 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. Really, since that Montez Sweat trade, this guy's played at a Pro Bowl level. He's been disruptive. I think last week against my Packers, 7 tackles. He was able to force a fumble. So he's done some really good things. And the ability to be able to come back from kind of a rough first half of the season, you see what he's capable of and the level that he's capable of playing at. So he's done a really good job that second half of the season. He's put himself in a position that he's being mentioned with the Porter Juniors and the Witherspoons. And I think he's done a great job down the stretch for Chicago.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, Tyrique Stevenson definitely flew under the radar some. He's not as a high-profile name, and cornerback's one of the toughest positions in the league. So obviously, rookies come in and they struggle a little bit at the beginning of the year, but he really came on towards the end of the year. He even won Defensive Player of the Week towards the end of the season with a game against the Falcons where he had 2 picks and 4 pass deflections. But he's a big corner, man, a big corner with the prototypical size that you want in today's game, more of a bump-and-run press corner, so that's fits in a whole bunch of schemes across the league and just has the ability to match up with those big, fast receivers. And he's really talented when it comes to, meeting the ball at the catch point and breaking up passes, and has elite ball skills as well. So I'm just impressed with what I've seen from Tyrique Stevenson grow as the year has gone on. And like I said, one of the toughest positions in the NFL.
Yeah, we've seen Chicago try to build something this year on that defense, and it really starts with those cornerbacks. Kyler Gordon being PFF's #1 corner this year. They're not as high on Tyrique Stevenson, but we've seen what he's done on tape. Like you said, Chris, with all those interceptions, forced fumbles, just making plays, making those game-changing impact that not a lot of corners be making. A lot of them are cover corners. They're taking players out of the field. That's their success. But Tyrique Stevenson's over here turning the ball over, making plays, and leaving his imprint on the game, and that's something that can't go under the radar for only so long. So those 2 corners in Chicago are starting to become the keystones for that young defense that, like you said, has now acquired Montez Sweat and is really starting to get something going there in the Windy City. But at number 3, we go to the offensive side of the ball where we have a record-breaking rookie and Puka Nacua out there in L.A., Brandon.
Yeah, the funny thing about the Rams is they've had a lot of turnover this offseason, and nobody expected them to be that good. But when Puka Nacua hit the ground running, started off the season with a couple of games of 10 catches and 100 receiving yards, especially when Cooper Kupp went down, they really had to rely on him. And you saw him and Matt Stafford gel from the very beginning. He had 4 games with 150-plus scrimmage yards. We're talking 105 catches, 1,486 receiving yards, both rookie receiving records. He's just an elite route runner and finds ways to just create separation. And he's a big, strong receiver, so he carries some DBs, gets some extra yak yards. He's excelled this year in a lot of different ways, and it's been really impressive, especially a receiver that was taken so late in the draft. So kudos to the Rams winding up finding him late in the draft, and he's really paid off, and he's going to be a big part of what they have going on for their foreseeable future.
I think when you look at what he's been able to do, I mean, like you said, taken in the 5th round, a lot of people didn't know who he was. He's a bigger receiver than what I thought, standing 6'2", 6'3". But he's in company with Tyrique. He's in company with CeeDee Lamb. He's in there with AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's in there with those guys. He was 4th in receiving yards, had over 1,400 yards receiving. But I think it's the intangibles that he brings to the game. I mean, if you need him to run that jet sweep, there he is. He's able to do it. He's in there. He's digging out that overhang defender or that outside backer or that safety that wants to get nosy and creep down into the box. So he's been able to do all of those dirty things, I think, that we talk about from a receiver standpoint. But then he's made big explosive plays down the field. I was fortunate. I got him on my fantasy team and I got him as a steal. Nobody took him, and I picked him up as a free agent, and it helped me to be able to win. But man, to look at what he's done, fourth in receiving yards. He had 6 touchdowns, had a long of 80 yards. But I think that really what goes unnoticed or untalked about, man, he played in all 17 games. So he showed the durability. He showed the ability to be able to stay healthy even when he was banged up. He's out there, man, gutting it out for his team and giving them a chance to win, even when they have their best receiver in Cooper Kupp being down for an extended period of time.
Yeah, Puka's a baller. I mean, you said the names that he's in company with, and it's funny you said those exact 5 names of CeeDee Lamb, Tyreque Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, and Puka Nacua, because those are exactly the top 5 receivers that we put on our Twitter account along with other rankings, so go check that out. But when it comes to Puka Nacua, I think one of the most interesting stories that I heard of any rookie this year is we know the chemistry that Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp have. Obviously, it led to one of the best receiving seasons we've ever seen, a Super Bowl championship to top it off, and a big part of that is what goes on behind the scenes. They're in meetings every day. They're talking about routes. They're talking about where Matt Stafford wants him to go. And what was interesting to me was that Puka Nacua, a 5th-round rookie, these guys aren't expected to make much of an impact. They're not even expected to gain the respect of someone like Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp. But they brought him in. They allowed him to be in on those meetings, and he was a big part of having those, they called them breakfast meetings, and it was just a daily thing that clearly led to a good repertoire on the field, and we're seeing, the positive impact of that with all these records being broken this year.
And no doubt, and there's always these guys in the league that are just great football players. And Puka Nacua is not the fastest, he's not the most talented player, but he has good build, good size, and he understands the game at a different level than most players do. And that's why he's just a good overall football player. And things tend to fall their way when you just do things right. And he's just one of those guys that you can tell excels at playing the sport of football.
I think that, and kind of put a bow on it, he does things that you see veterans struggle with, and a lot of times, and playing the receiver position, we're always trying to identify man versus zone, what coverage are they in? But in the NFL, it gets a little bit different because you have those fire zones and you have those zone blitzes and all of those different things. But for him to be able to be where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, being able to understand man versus zone, sit down in the zone, run through, the windows, run away from coverage with man, and you have a veteran like Matt Stafford that trusts him, man, that says a lot for a guy that was drafted in the 5th round as a rookie. He's come in being able to have the impact on a playoff team like the Rams.
Absolutely. This guy is a great football player. Just like at number 2 with the Detroit Lions tight end, Sam Laporta, great football player, Chris.
Yeah, 86 catches, not quite 1,000 yards this year, but setting that tight end, touchdown record with 10 touchdowns. I think he's been huge for the Detroit Lions, especially with all the people that they have and all the pieces that they have. I think it all starts with that run game with David Montgomery and having Jahmyr Gibbs that are able to lead that ground attack. But then you have guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. You've got to account for him. And for Sam Laporta to come in as, another one of those tight ends, from Iowa, they come in, they have an impact, they're able to do great things. He was not just valuable in the pass game, doing the things, being able to set the edge, being effective in the run game, doing all of those dirty things that it really doesn't hit the stat sheet. I thought Sam Laporta did an amazing job, had a great rookie season. And, the fact that he was able to set that touchdown record, I think he also broke that receiving catch for a tight end, and set it at 86 catches this year. So he's done a lot of great things as a rookie. I look for him to really take that next step in that sophomore season, like your Travis Kelce's, your Mark Andrews, your George Kittles, to put himself in position to be one of those household names at that tight end position.
Yeah, I think the Rams rookie class has been a little underrated with Puka Nacua and Kobe Turner, someone who just missed this list. But the Lions knocked their draft class out of the park with getting Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, all these other guys that have been instant impact contributors. But it all starts with Sam Laporta. He is at the forefront of what they've done offensively. This is a team that was a good offensive team this year, but it seems like they took it to another level in 2023, and that's exactly why their offensive coordinator is likely to become a head coach elsewhere going into 2024. And Sam Laporta has been a big part of that offense. He's been a red zone target. He's been a reliable third down a go-to guy, and just someone who you can get him the ball. He's going to make plays after the catch. He's going to get himself open and make tough catches for Jared Goff. And it's someone who, like you said, like Travis Kelce, like Mark Andrews, the sky's the limit for him going forward.
Yeah, fortunately for Sam Laporta, he hasn't really dealt with injuries this year. Unfortunately, got that knee injury in the last game of the regular season. But I have to shout out Iowa from the jump. I mean, tight end university. I'm talking about Dallas Clark, George Kittle, Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson, and now Sam Laporta. Like you said, Chris, 86 receptions, which broke the rookie tight end receptions record. This is the Ben Johnson-led passing attack that featured the rookie early and often throughout the season, and he's a plus blocker as well. So he does everything right from the tight end position. I mean, he's truly the prototypical tight end, and it's just going to be great to see his game reach another level, which there really isn't much more that he could improve on. So Sam Laporta did a great job. This Lions draft class was awesome. Also had Brian Branch in there as well. So awesome job by the Lions and Ben Johnson and featuring him early and recognizing the talent that they have.
And moving on to number 1, another offensive player, likely the unanimous or at least close to unanimous offensive rookie of the year in CJ Stroud for the Houston Texans. Now, I know you guys got a lot of good things to say, but I got to go off on my guy CJ real quick. This is a guy who I didn't necessarily believe in at a high level coming into the league. We saw what he did against Georgia, and he played at such a high level. We didn't know if that was a fluke. We didn't know if that was what he was really capable of. And this year, he's been, in my opinion, the most impressive player, maybe besides Joe Flacco, considering him coming back off the couch after 2-3 years. But with CJ, he's just someone who makes plays. He's not someone who you necessarily have to have the perfect X's and O's, the best receivers, the best offensive line. Doesn't matter what's around him. He's going to find a way to get the ball to his receivers, to buy extra time in the pocket, and to move the chains and help that offense succeed and score points. And I know this is going to be a bold take, but besides Lamar Jackson, it's hard for me to see any player, at least on the offensive side of the ball, that's played at a higher level than CJ Stroud. You watch the film and you'll see what I'm talking about. This guy is excellent at extending plays, at just making the plays that very few people can do. And in that division with Jacksonville, with Indy, with the Titans, a division that not a lot of people saw having a lot of success this year, he's almost single-handedly bringing the Texans to prominence, bringing that division up with him, and it seems like he could dominate that division for a decade plus to come.
Yeah, living in Houston, or close to Houston, I should say, you hear a lot about the Texans, and man, what CJ Stroud has been able to do. You look at top 10 in passing yards with 4,108 yards. Top 3 in yards per game, 273. Top 10 in passer rating. I think the most telling stat, you look at the last 5 games, where you really start getting into the meat and potato of the season. You're playing a lot more of the division. They've seen you a time before. Last 5 games, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1,146 yards with a passer rating of 102 yards, per game. So, I think the one thing that I would love to see him improve on is that, that completion percentage. I think, he misses a couple of throws that should, at that level, you should be able to make. But man, the last 2 games, 77%, 75% respectively, 3 passing touchdowns, 102 passer rating. He earned my respect. He earned, me believing, because as we've looked at, Ohio State quarterbacks really have not impressed me. But coming into a situation, you have a rookie head coach, you have a lot of changes. Their run game has not been, it has not been great. Hasn't been anything to write home about. And he has just stepped in there. He's been calm, cool, collected. He's made the big plays. And, he's top 10 in passing yards, and he missed 2 games. And he had a terrible game against the Jets. He got knocked out of that game. So only playing really, 14 and a half, 15 and a half games, he was able to put up great numbers, really able to put the Texans in a position to be successful, got them to the playoffs. Man, the sky's the limit for what CJ Stroud has and what they have to look forward to here in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, what a season for CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans, and a shame on the NFL for them not playing in any primetime games besides that last Week 17 game against the Colts in a win to get in playoff situation. But like you said, I mean, the Texans had no run game to start off the year. Dameon Pierce had a terrible season. He didn't really do much at all to help out CJ Stroud to start off the year. The offensive line was banged up. They had a whole bunch of different combinations going on. They actually had to trade for a bunch of guys to just make the offensive line be able to go out and play a game. And like you said, DeMeco Ryans' first year as a head coach, a defensive head coach as well, but they got Bobby Slowick as the OC, wound up doing an amazing job and is a huge candidate to be a head coach this year. And the Texans won 3 games last year. He wound up getting them to 10-7 in their first AFC South title since 2019. Youngest to lead the league in passing touchdowns to interceptions ratio, and had the most rookie passing yards in the game. I mean, came out like some of the other guys on this list, like Puka, Nacua, and Jalen Carter, and hit the ground running to start the season. And they would really be nowhere without C.J. Stroud, especially with that lackluster run game. And C.J. Stroud does have another level to him. He's a fast guy. He has the ability to extend plays, but he didn't really run a lot this year. He had 100 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is good for a quarterback, but this dude's fast, and he has the size and build to be a way better runner and a way better scrambler at the end of the day. So there's still a different level that he can reach, and it's just been a crazy impressive season for him to deal with some of the mishaps that were built with the Texans team. Only won 3 games last year, and to turn it around so quickly and have them in the playoffs already.
I think also, you look at the musical chairs at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Arguably Tank Dell is in that conversation for offensive rookie of the year and was having an amazing year. And then he gets hurt. He's out for the season. Nico Collins has been in and out of the lineup. Robert Woods, a veteran, they introduced him there, but for them to have so many injuries, so much turnover, so many personnel groupings, and for him to put up the numbers and have the season that he has, and he's convinced me. You know what? That's the first Ohio State quarterback. I think he may be the real deal. So, kudos to CJ for the year that he has and I look forward to seeing what they're going to be able to do in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see what these guys are capable of in the future, but in 2023, all of them were the real deal. All of them were Rookie of the Year candidates, some even MVP candidates, but these are the top 5 rookies in 2023 with the help of Chris Taylor, someone who's been in the trenches himself, been on the gridiron, and now helping players and helping future superstars train and get themselves going and everything. Chris, really appreciate you coming on the show, man. It was great having you.
Man, it was a blast. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yes, sir. But before we go, man, top 5 list. There were a bunch of rookies that didn't make this list. A lot of impressive guys like the Kobe Turners, the Joey Porter Juniors, the Brian Branches. So make sure y'all let us know y'all's top 5 in the comments. And before y'all go, hit that like and subscribe. Show us some love so we can come back each and every single week with some better and top flight guys like Chris Taylor.
Absolutely, man. Thank you all. See you all next time.
Peace.